Hey friend, please subscribe. 1 second for you. Big deal for me.
I knew something was off the second I walked into my parents' house. The smell of pot roast hit me first. Not unusual, but Mom only makes it on holidays or when someone dies. Then I saw the dining room. The good china, candles, napkins folded like we're at some kind of five-star restaurant. That weird, overly cheerful tone in Mom's voice sealed it. "Oh, look who's finally here," she said, wiping her hands on a dish towel like she hadn't just peeked out the blinds 3 times in the last 10 minutes. "We're just about to sit down." Dad stood by the sideboard, pouring himself a generous glass of scotch. He nodded at me, didn't even say hi. Dean was already at the table, half paying attention, thumb flying across his phone. His wife Heather sat beside him, nudging their kid Ryan to take more than 2 bites of green beans. "High school starts next week," she muttered. "You can't run on fries and spite, Rye." Ryan rolled his eyes but shoved another forkful into his mouth. Poor kid didn't look like he wanted to be there any more than I did. Quick note. Before we start, share in the comments how's your day going and where you're joining from. And let's continue. "Isn't this nice?" Mom said, all chirpy as she adjusted her pearl necklace and straightened her apron. "All of us together on a Wednesday?" She laughed like it was some spontaneous miracle. But I clocked the setup. The forced smiles, the over-the-top spread. It wasn't anyone's birthday, no anniversary, no retirement to celebrate. Dean looked up from his phone just long enough to exchange a glance with Dad. Something passed between them, some unspoken agreement, and then Dad reached behind him and slid a folder across the table toward me. "Take a look at this when you get a minute," he said, like it was a casual ask. I picked it up. White folder, Chase Bank logo on the corner. Inside, a loan application. Education fund. $42,000. My name was already typed on the cosigner line. I blinked. "What is this?" Dean leaned back in his chair, like this was no big deal. "It's just a formality," he said, giving me that smirk he's perfected since middle school. "Ryan wants to go to that STEM charter school. Bank needs a solid backup." "You've got good credit, man." Mom placed a hand on my shoulder. "We thought you'd be happy to help," she said, squeezing gently like that would soften the blow. My heart thudded hard. "You already filled in my name." "Well," she said, brushing at a non-existent speck on the tablecloth, "it makes it easier for the bank to see we're serious." "You didn't ask me." "Oh, Kyle, don't be dramatic," Dad said, waving it off. "It's just paperwork." I looked across the table. Ryan wasn't even listening, too busy rearranging peas in a circle on his plate. He had no clue he was the bait in this little trap. Dean leaned forward. "You got that bonus last quarter, right?" His voice was casual, too casual. Figured it wouldn't be a burden. My hands clenched under the table. This whole thing, the dinner, the fake cheer, the nice china, it was a setup. They'd planned it. The trap wasn't just bait. It was baked, plated, and served with gravy. Mom smiled and passed the mashed potatoes like nothing was wrong. I stared at that damn folder like it might change if I just blinked hard enough. But my name was still there. Bold letters, co-signer line already typed out like the decision had been made days ago. Dean leaned in. That same smug look he always had when he thought he was being charming. "It's just a formality. Bank needs a solid backup, that's all. Won't affect you unless something goes wrong." And nothing's going wrong. He said it like he was doing me a favor. Like I should be thanking him for the chance to be included in this little family investment. Mom slid into the seat next to me, her hand already reaching for mine. Her fingers were cold and shaking a little, like she was building up to something big. I didn't even have time to pull away before the tears showed up. Not loud sobs, but that fake quiet crying she does when she wants to look fragile but noble, like something out of a soap opera. "Kyle," she said softly, squeezing my hand. Family helps family. I looked across the table at Ryan. 14, skinny, still had that lost middle schooler look about him. He was stabbing a green bean into mashed potatoes like it was a video game. Totally clueless he was being used as bait in this ambush. My stomach twisted hard. This wasn't some honest request or a last-minute ask. This dinner, the damn napkins folded like swans, the sudden interest in my schedule, it was all a setup. And I walked right into it. I dropped the folder on the table and pushed my chair back. "So that's what this is," I said. "You guys planned this." Dad didn't even blink. "We just thought it'd be better in person." Dean shrugged. "You're overthinking it." Overthinking. That word landed like a slap. Every time I stood up for myself as a kid, they called it that. Overthinking. Sensitive. Too serious. And just like that, the memories hit. Fast, ugly, like they'd been waiting in a box I hadn't touched in years. 16. Working the closing shift at Randall's Hardware 3 nights a week, while Dean got to focus on school and football practice. Same kid who totaled his car sophomore year and got a newer one from Dad 2 months later. Meanwhile, I rode a rusted-out bike with a squeaky chain, even in the rain. They threw Dean a graduation party with a giant rented tent in the backyard, lights strung across the trees, trays of catered food, a DJ. I still remember the cake. 3 layers, frosted with the school colors, topped with fondant footballs. He got a laptop, a $1,000 savings bond, and a photo slideshow with background music. Me? I got a firm handshake from Dad and a $50 check from Mom's rainy day fund. I used it to buy textbooks for my first semester at community college. I paid for everything. All of it. Tuition, books, groceries. I lived in a shitty apartment that smelled like cat piss and mold. Took out loans that I'm still paying off. Worked part-time at the campus library. Cleaned classrooms at night. Never once got a care package or even a text from home asking how I was doing. And now here they were, sitting around a table they never bothered to set when I visited, asking me to put my name on the line for a kid who doesn't even know what's happening. Dean leaned forward again, trying to look sincere this time. "Come on, man. It's Ryan. He's a good kid. We just need a little help getting him started." "Help?" I said, practically choking on the word. "You mean help like the kind I never got?" Mom's tears came harder now. "That's not fair, Kyle." "No," I snapped, standing up. "What's not fair is expecting me to risk my credit because you all can't manage your own money." Dad's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. Heather didn't say a word either. Just kept her eyes on Ryan like she could will him to disappear. Ryan finally looked up from his plate, confused. "What's going on?" Dean smiled at him like it was nothing. "Nothing, bud. Just grown-up talk." I felt like punching something. He didn't even have the decency to tell his own kid the truth. I didn't say goodbye. I just walked out. The fake tears, the folder, the whole damn setup. I left it all sitting there, right on the table. Next morning, I got to work early. Didn't sleep more than a couple hours, and my brain wouldn't shut up long enough for me to fake it. The whole ride in, I kept thinking about that folder, about Dean's smirk, about Mom's fake-ass tears. So instead of diving into my usual reports, I logged into my employee dashboard. There's a tab most people don't even bother with. Bonus history, payout tracker, internal view logs. I clicked through just to see. That's when I saw it. The access log said my annual bonus report had been viewed the day before the dinner. Timestamp was around 2:15 in the afternoon. Thing is, I hadn't opened that page in weeks. I already knew what was coming, and I didn't need to obsess over it. I checked the IP address logged for the access. Didn't match mine. Not my phone, not my home internet, not anything in the company's building. I leaned back, stomach turning. This wasn't paranoia. Someone got into my records. I called IT. "Hey, this is Kyle from Data Ops." I got a weird access log on my bonus report. Someone pulled it yesterday afternoon and it wasn't me. The guy on the other end, Alan, I think, started tapping away at his keyboard. "One sec? Okay. Yeah, that IP is external. Looks like it came from a VPN, but the endpoint pinged through an inactive user credential. A temp account." My chest tightened. "Can you see who last had that credential assigned?" A pause. Then, "Yeah, it was Linda Carmichael. But she's not with the company anymore." Linda. My mom's best friend's daughter. I hadn't seen her since some awkward Christmas, when she got dumped, and Mom tried to fix her up with me, just to cheer her up. Actually, Alan added, wait, looks like she's still active. Different department now. Transferred to admin resources 6 months ago. There it was. I didn't need a full confession. I already knew what happened. I opened up my banking app, went straight to deposits. The bonus had landed 3 days ago. $14,800 exactly. Mom had dropped that number during dinner like she pulled it from a budget spreadsheet. Because she did. I stared at the screen, the numbers, the timestamp. I'd busted my ass all year for that payout. Late nights, weekend work, dealing with impossible clients. And they used it to set a trap. That rage started low in my chest, hot, heavy, focused. I backed out of the app and opened our old family group text thread. It had been quiet for months, mostly used for holiday plans and Dad's forwarded political garbage. I scrolled back just to see, maybe some stupid picture of Ryan or Mom's inspiration of the day posts. Then I saw it. Dean. She got the bonus. Dinner scheme still on? Dad. Confirmed. Your mother's making pot roast. I actually said, Jesus Christ, out loud, sitting there in my cubicle, phone in my hand, heart pounding like I just got jumped. They didn't even try to cover their tracks. They used the thread like it was a strategy session. I screen capped everything, forwarded it to my personal email. Then I went home early and pulled out an old shoebox from the back of my closet. Hadn't touched it in years. It still smelled like mildew and printer ink. Inside were all the records I'd kept from college. Old loan statements, printouts of payment plans, copies of FAFSA documents, even the refund check stub from the year I skipped spring break to take a second job. I laid them out on the table, one by one. Federal loans, private loans, my name on every single one. No co-signer, no backup, just me and the government and a mountain of interest. I'd carried all of it, on my own, and not once did anyone offer to help. Not once did they suggest a family fund or a loan with my name typed in advance. But the second my account saw 5 figures, suddenly they were hosting Wednesday night banquets and making speeches about family unity. I sat at the table for over an hour. Didn't touch the whiskey I poured. Didn't turn on the TV. I just looked at the paper trail of everything I'd been through and realized this wasn't just betrayal. It was calculated. They stalked my financials. They watched my money hit. Then they pounced. It wasn't just cruel. It was strategic. I didn't answer Dean's calls. Not the 1st, not the 5th, not the 15th. He left voicemails that started off calm. Hey man, just checking in. Then shifted into annoyed, then frustrated. I didn't bother listening past the first 10 seconds. Just deleted and blocked him. 2 days later, I got an email from HR. Subject line, family emergency. I opened it expecting some system notification. Instead, it was a flagged report. Someone had called the main office, claimed I had a family crisis and might need to take medical leave. No name, no callback number, just a vague story about an urgent family matter involving his nephew. My jaw clenched so tight I felt it in my temples. The next morning, Lorraine from Quality stopped by my desk. She leaned in with that gossipy tone she uses when something juicy's about to drop. Hey, she said, tilting her head like she cared. Your brother called the front desk yesterday. He said he couldn't reach you and needed help getting a hold of someone in your department. I stared at her, waiting. He said you were avoiding a serious issue. I told him I don't get in the middle of family stuff. She gave a small laugh, like she expected me to join in. I didn't. I just nodded once, tight and sharp, then turned back to my screen. Later that day, I ran into my old neighbor, Mrs. Evans, at the grocery store. I was reaching for eggs when she rolled her cart beside mine and blocked the aisle like she'd planned it. You know, she said, narrowing her eyes, some people forget who helped them grow up. I blinked. Excuse me? I remember when your mom was up all night helping with your science fair volcano, and when your dad coached your t-ball team even though he worked late. You think the world owes you something now? Shame on you. She didn't wait for an answer. Just pushed her cart past mine like she'd dropped the mic. The hits kept coming. Aunt Sandy posted some vague Bible verse on Facebook, something about selfish hearts and broken homes. Cousin Steve, who I hadn't seen since his DUI arrest 3 years ago, sent a text out of nowhere. Be a man. Help the kid. One night I found an actual letter in my mailbox. No name, no return address. Just one sentence printed in blocky black font on cheap printer paper. Ungrateful sons go to hell. I stood there in the hallway, staring at it like it might burst into flames. Then I folded it once, dropped it straight into the trash, and cracked open a beer without even taking off my shoes. That's when I knew this wasn't just a guilt trip. This was a campaign. They were pulling every lever they had. Friends, church people, neighbors I hadn't spoken to in years. They wanted to make sure I felt cornered from all sides. Isolate the problem. Apply pressure. Break the target. Thursday morning, I was at work, mid-coffee, when I saw him. Dad. Standing in the lobby like he owned the damn building, wearing his old company blazer and that outdated tie I used to think looked sharp when I was a kid. He had the same stance he used when he used to give employee evaluations. Straight back, arms folded, jaw set. He didn't wave, just nodded at the receptionist and walked toward me with that quiet, slow pace that meant he was serious. I didn't stand, just let him come to me. He didn't sit either, just leaned down on the desk, rested his knuckles on the edge, and said, 10 a.m. Thursday. The loan officer's expecting us. That's all. No small talk, no good morning, no question. Just a scheduled appointment, like we were business partners finalizing a deal. I stared up at him. You didn't even ask if I was coming. You are, he said, because you know it's right. He didn't wait for a response, just turned and walked out with the same posture he always had when he thought the conversation was over. I didn't chase him. I went home that night, tossed my keys on the counter, opened the fridge, and pulled out a beer. Sat in silence. Didn't turn on the lights. Just stared out the window at the street below and tried to wrap my head around how far they were willing to go. They weren't stopping. They weren't embarrassed. They weren't even hiding it anymore. I was halfway through that second beer, still sitting in the dark, when my phone buzzed with a new email. Subject: New growth opportunity, Portland branch opening Q4. I clicked it without thinking. Internal transfer. Brand new location. Same title. Better salary band. Relocation covered. They needed data ops people. The job description matched my skill set almost line for line. I reread it twice, just to make sure I wasn't hallucinating. Then a text popped up from Margaret in finance. Margaret, you'd kill it in Portland. Deadline's Friday. Go. No emojis, no fluff, just a green light from someone who knew what the hell she was talking about. I didn't hesitate. I applied right then and there, updated my internal profile, attached my portfolio, punched in the required forms. Took less than an hour. Then I opened another tab and booked a one-way ticket to Oregon. Departure, the following Wednesday. I wasn't running. I was cutting loose. Next morning, I woke up to another voicemail from Dean. His voice was higher than usual, strained like he was trying to sound casual but couldn't quite keep the edge out of it. We already spent some of the money, he said. I mean, not all of it, obviously. But we had to put down the enrollment fee and some stuff for supplies. Just don't screw this up, okay? I hit delete before he could finish. By noon, I got another email. This one from a law firm I'd never heard of. Armstrong, Bell, and Hughes Legal Advisory. Logo looked like it was designed in PowerPoint by someone's uncle. Subject line, urgent, family trust obligation notice. The body of the message was a wall of legal-sounding garbage claiming I had a moral and potentially legal responsibility to uphold a verbal commitment made within a family unit for a minor's educational future. They didn't even spell obligation right in the first paragraph. I clicked the sender details, Gmail account. No firm domain. I reverse image searched the logo. It showed up on a Facebook post from a guy selling fake letterheads. I let out a short laugh. They actually thought this would work. that a knockoff legal threat would scare me into caving. Enough was enough. I went straight to HR. Not some form or email chain. I walked into the department, knocked on Christina's office door, and asked if she had 5 minutes. She did. I laid it out flat. The call to the front desk, the family emergency lie, the messages, the stalking, the threats, the fake-ass law firm. Her eyebrows didn't move once. She just listened and took notes. When I finished, she tapped her pen twice on the notepad and said, "Okay. We'll lock your employee file to outside inquiries. No one from outside the company will be able to get through. We'll also flag your name for any internal contact attempts. And if anyone impersonates legal counsel again, send it to me." She stood up and walked me out herself. Later that afternoon, my supervisor, Eric, dropped by my desk. No big speech, no judgment. He just placed a fresh coffee beside my keyboard and said, "Handle what you need. We've got your back." That was it. No lectures, no guilt, no passive-aggressive digs about loyalty or family or any of that other crap I'd been choking on for the past week. Just simple backup, the kind I'd never gotten growing up. I finished the coffee, closed my tabs, and packed up early. I didn't owe anyone overtime that day. Back at home, I pulled out my suitcase and laid it open on the bed. Didn't start packing yet. Just stared at it for a while. Like the simple act of unzipping that thing changed the whole game. Because it had. They wanted to trap me with shame. They wanted to bury me in duty and fake loyalty and pressure dressed up as love. But I had a plane ticket, a locked file, and for the first time, a door that only opened one way. The text came Thursday morning. "Mom, please come tonight. Just a reasonable discussion. 7 p.m. Your father says it's time we talk like family." I almost ignored it. Almost. But part of me wanted to see just how far they'd take this. So I showed up. Not out of guilt. Not to explain myself. Just to look them all in the eye and finally say what I should have said years ago. They'd set up in the living room this time. Chairs pulled in from the kitchen. Pastor Jenkins sat on the couch like he was about to mediate a damn custody battle. Aunt Linda brought her casserole dish like this was a prayer circle. Cousin Claire sat near the bookshelf, clipboard in hand, all bank official and polite, smiling like she didn't help approve the loan they wanted me to sign. Dean stood when I walked in, all fake warm like we hadn't been at war for a week. Heather gave a tight smile. Ryan wasn't there. Small mercy. "Glad you came," Dad said, waving toward the empty recliner like I was being offered a throne. I didn't sit. Dean cleared his throat. "We're concerned. About your spiritual health?" My eyes narrowed. That's how we were starting? Not the money, not the access, not the harassment or fake lawyer crap. No, my spiritual health. Pastor Jenkins folded his hands. "You've distanced yourself from your family, Kyle. God teaches us that isolation leads to bitterness, resentment, pride." Aunt Linda chimed in like she'd been rehearsing. "When you shut out your blood, you shut out His blessings." Claire nodded solemnly. "Family is the first institution God created. Before church, before the state." Mom finally spoke, right on cue. Her voice cracked before the tears even started. "We gave you everything, all the sacrifices, the love, the support." I held up a hand. Not loud, not dramatic, just enough to cut through the choir. And then I let it roll. "I've been working since I was 15, I said, voice steady. I stocked shelves while Dean got his varsity jacket. I mopped floors while he got driving lessons. I saved for school while you rented him a damn bounce house for graduation." No one interrupted. I paid every cent of my tuition. Took out every loan in my name. Lived on expired ramen and gas station coffee. No help, no calls, no, "How can we pitch in?" Not even a care package. Mom's tears turned up a notch, but I didn't flinch. "And now you want more?" Now that I finally get a break, now that something good lands in my lap, suddenly it's a moral crisis if I don't share it. Dean stood like he was going to calm things down. "It's not about you, man. It's about what's best for Ryan. That hit exactly wrong. Exactly, I said, staring dead at him. It never is. The room went silent. Real, suffocating silence. Like even the house knew there was nothing left to say. I didn't wait for permission. Didn't check for reactions. I turned and walked out without another word. The second I hit the driveway, my phone buzzed. Rachel, still got boxes in my trunk. You ready? She was waiting in front of my building 10 minutes later. Hoodie, messy bun, back seat stacked with flattened cardboard like it was an emergency kit. Want me to say anything or just load? She asked. Just load. We didn't talk much that night. I packed. She taped. We ordered pizza. She handed me a beer without asking. And somewhere around midnight, I finally let out the breath I'd been holding for weeks. They wanted a confrontation. They got one. But it was over now. By Monday morning, I was done playing defense. I walked into HR right after the weekly huddle and handed Christina the final transfer paperwork. She looked it over, initialed the top corner, and gave me a real smile. Not the fake kind you see around promotions or birthday cake. The kind that says you earned this. Congratulations, she said. They're lucky to have you. After that, I called my bank. Told them I wanted everything moved, checking, savings, investment accounts, all wired into their Oregon branch. I wanted no financial trails left behind, no account numbers floating around for Dean to guess at, no ties, no reach. Tuesday morning, I booked the apartment I'd been eyeing since the job posting went live. 2-bedroom walk-up in northeast Portland near Mount Tabor, hardwood floors, big windows, no one sharing a wall with me who knew my last name. While the lease confirmation was downloading, I pulled out the letter from my granddad. I'd kept it folded in the back of an old copy of The Old Man and the Sea, tucked between the last page and the back cover. I unfolded it carefully, the paper soft and yellowed at the corners. Stand tall, even if you stand alone. He'd written that to me the week I turned 19, when I was ready to drop out of school and come home. I didn't, thanks to him. He'd been the only one in that house who told me I wasn't crazy for wanting something different. That line was the only thing I wanted hanging above my desk in the new place. I bought a cheap black frame at Office Depot and set it on the top of the box labeled Desk. Keep close. Wednesday night, I stood outside Logan Airport with 2 suitcases and my backpack. That's all I was taking. Everything else could be sold, donated, or forgotten. The air was muggy, thick with late summer Boston heat. Sweat gathered behind my neck as I adjusted the strap on my duffel and watched traffic crawl through the departure lane. The rideshare guy rolled down his window. You Kyle? Yeah, I said, popping the trunk open. He hopped out, helped me toss the bags in, then asked, You coming back, or is this one way? One way, I said. No hesitation. He nodded, didn't ask more. I appreciated that. The flight boarded on time. I didn't look back, didn't text anyone. Just settled into my window seat, put in my earbuds, and waited. As the plane lifted off, the city lights stretched out like a flickering blanket below. But I didn't feel fear. I didn't feel guilt. What I felt was silence, a kind I hadn't known in years. No tension pulling at my chest. No mental rehearsals of what I might have to say next. Just peace. When we landed in Portland, it was past midnight. The airport was quiet. I turned my phone back on and waited for the flood. It didn't disappoint. Missed calls, Mom, 6, Dean, 4, Dad, 2. Voicemails, You need to come home. This isn't like you. Where are you? Texts from cousins, neighbors, Heather, even Pastor Jenkins. We're all praying you come to your senses. And then, one from Mom. Mom, you're missing. We filed a report. Please let us know you're okay. I didn't get angry, didn't throw the phone or scream or feel anything sharp. I just sat there in baggage claim with my foot tapping and my thumb scrolling, and I answered the first unknown number that rang. Hello? It was a female voice. Calm, official. This is Officer Rinaldi with the Portland Police Department. We got a welfare check request filed out of Massachusetts. Are you safe, sir? I didn't hesitate. I moved. I'm good. She paused. You sure you don't need assistance? The report said, I'm sure. There's no emergency. I just didn't tell anyone I was moving. That's not illegal, right? No, sir, she said quickly. You're within your rights. We'll close it out. I thanked her, ended the call, and took a deep breath. Then I pulled out my laptop, sat down at a gate bench, and opened a new email draft. Subject: Clarity. I attached screenshots, the text messages, the dinner plan thread, the Chase Bank folder with my name pre-filled, the fake law firm email, the voicemail transcript where Dean admitted they spent the money early. I sent it to every extended family member who'd ever guilted me, texted me, prayed for my return, or told me to be a man. I didn't include commentary. No rants, no emotional summary, just the facts. Let the evidence speak louder than my voice ever could. 2 weeks later, I sent out the Zoom invites, one for each of them. I labeled it Family Update. Please join so no one could claim they didn't know what it was. 7 joined. Right on time. Mom, Dad, Dean and Heather, Pastor Jenkins, my cousin Amy, my cousin Claire, the one from the bank. I kept my camera on, mic hot, and eyes straight ahead. I didn't say hi. I didn't ask how anyone was. I'll speak first, I said, already clicking share screen. Slide 1 filled the screen. White background, black text, company header in the corner. January 15th, my bonus report accessed through an external IP. Not mine. Here's the audit trail. Here's the HR email confirming it wasn't me. Accessed using a credential last assigned to Linda Carmichael. Yes, that, Linda. I heard someone exhale. Couldn't tell who. Day after that, I got a dinner invite. I let it sit. Slide 2. Screenshots of the group text thread. Dean. She got the bonus. Dinner scheme still on? Dad. Confirmed. Your mother's making pot roast. Pastor shifted. Claire stared into the corner of her screen like she wanted to log off. Slide 3. The fake legal email. I highlighted the sender address. Zoomed in on the registration details. Burner domain. DNS traced back to a prepaid hosting card. Card was purchased using a debit account linked to Dean's email. I didn't say it, just let the slide speak. Dean cleared his throat. That's not what you think. I clicked to slide 4. Audio wave popped up. Then text. Transcript from a voicemail Dean left on someone else's line. He was laughing, slurring a little. Dean, if Kyle signs, I can wipe out the DraftKings hole, and Heather never has to know. Heather turned. Slowly. She wasn't pale, she was gray. Her hand went to her mouth, and she didn't speak. Just looked at him like she was seeing him for the first time. Dean, she whispered, is this real? He didn't answer. Pastor tried to regroup. Kyle, we understand tensions were high, but this... I didn't raise my voice. I didn't blink. I'm done accepting setups disguised as family dinners. Here are my terms. I stopped screen sharing. Just looked them dead in the face. No contact for 6 months. That means calls, letters, voicemails, DMs, check-in emails, or guilt-tripping texts through extended relatives. You reach out, the clock resets. Mom's face twisted. Sweetheart, I didn't know. You did. She started to cry. I didn't stop her. HR has blocked family access to my records, I said, tone flat. Any future contact attempts through work will be logged and reported. You do not have permission to involve my employer or my colleagues in your personal plans. Dad still hadn't spoken. He was watching everything like it was a stock portfolio crashing, trying to measure damage, trying to find where the leverage went. Oregon is home now. That's permanent. I paused for the last part, made sure it landed. I wish Ryan well. He is not a bargaining chip. He will never be used as bait again. Mom leaned forward. He asked about you last week. He misses you. I ended the call. No warning, no fade out. Just click. My terms, not theirs. Oregon moved at a different speed. Nobody asked where I was running from. The job was clean, hard, but honest, and the neighbors weren't nosy. I'd come home, make dinner, eat it hot, and not once did anyone try to make me earn my seat. I walked to work when the weather let me. I started going to the same diner every Thursday night. There was a rhythm to it. Steady, quiet, nobody keeping score. Heather was the first one to reach out. Not a call, just a text. Heather, Ryan would like to see you when you're ready. No pressure. I won't push. I didn't answer right away. But a month later, she pulled into my driveway with Ryan in the back seat, a duffel bag on his lap. There were no speeches. No emotional ambush. We grabbed sandwiches from a food truck and walked along the Riverside Trail behind my building. Ryan asked about hiking boots. Asked how much you could make in a summer job at his age. Asked if I still liked sci-fi books. I kept it simple. Honest. No lectures. No, your dad and I. Just real talk. He soaked it up without blinking. He didn't ask why I left. I think he already knew. 3 months in, HR called me in and offered me a promotion. Bigger accounts, higher pay. I accepted it without telling anyone back east. That night, I had dinner with friends. Real friends. Nobody passed judgment with the potatoes. The letters from Mom started showing up like clockwork. Once a month, cream-colored envelopes with loopy cursive that never used to be her style. At first, they were dramatic, full of prayers, regrets, not quite apologies. Then they turned stiff and formal, like she didn't know what to say. By the fourth one, they were just short, honest. We never saw it. That line stuck with me. Dad didn't write much, just mailed me sports section clippings and weather updates from back home like we were two old pen pals with nothing personal left to say. No sorry, no explanation. Maybe that was all he had in him. Word got around eventually. Dean was underwater, missed mortgage payments, foreclosure warnings. He started reaching out to cousins, old family friends, anyone who'd listen. No one picked up. Turns out I wasn't his first target, just the last one standing. Thanksgiving rolled around, and I hosted dinner. Not for family, for people who saw me, not what they could take from me. There was music, laughter, 2 kinds of pie. Not one person asked me to sign a damn thing. That night, after everyone left, I sat at my kitchen table and wrote a note I didn't send. When Ryan turns 16, I'll send him a check. No strings. No message. It'll be for him. His future. His choices instead, for now, I mailed a paperback copy of the book he asked about, and a card with 5 words. Proud of the way you think. When Heather and Ryan left the morning after the visit, she hugged me briefly on the porch. Didn't say anything about Dean, didn't ask me to forgive or forget. She just said, "Thanks for keeping it low-key. He needed that, and that was it." Oregon didn't feel like an escape anymore. It felt like a clean page, and this time, I was the one holding the pen. It had been 6 months. I could tell, not from a calendar, but by the way my breath felt when I woke up in the morning. Calm, steady, without that old weight pressing against my chest. The letter from my granddad hung above my desk, right where I said it would. Same old frame, cheap black border, but it felt like something solid. A compass. I read it sometimes when I'm logging into spreadsheets or sipping my second coffee. Stand tall, even if you stand alone. My apartment in Portland didn't creak like the one back east. It caught sunlight through the living room windows just right. The walls were clean, the air smelled like pine and laundry, and there were no shadows I couldn't name. Every Tuesday night, I taught a financial basics class at the local community center. Mostly young guys, new jobs, student loans, paychecks they didn't know what to do with. I didn't preach. I just showed them what I'd learned the hard way. Last weekend, this kid, 26, nervous, kept rubbing the back of his neck, stayed behind after class. "My brother's in deep," he said. "Credit card debt, back rent, loan sharks. My mom says I need to help him. She said if I don't, I'm turning my back on the family." He looked at me like he already knew the answer, but still needed to hear it out loud. "You're not a bad son for saying no," I told him. "You're finally saying yes to yourself." He nodded, took a breath, walked out taller than he came in. A couple of days later, Heather texted me a photo of Ryan. He was kneeling on their patio, working on a half-built model rocket, squinting against the sun. In the background, there was a cooler, a bag of chips, the kind of ordinary afternoon that used to feel like fiction. Heather. "He still talks about Oregon." I stared at the photo for a second, then typed back, "Me. When he's older, he's welcome anytime." Dean hadn't reached out since the call. No texts, no sudden confessions, no half-baked apologies. Maybe he got it now, that it was never about the money, it was about the pattern, and he broke it one too many times. I didn't need revenge. Just distance. Friday morning, I walked down to the local diner, same one Ellie always picked. She was already there, sipping orange juice and scribbling in her notepad. She didn't ask about family. She never did. She pushed the syrup toward me and grinned. "I think I finally figured out how to structure the trail run fundraiser." "Want to hear?" "Lay it on me." We ate pancakes and passed ideas back and forth, while the place filled with the clatter of forks and the low hum of conversation. As I sipped my coffee, I felt it. Not freedom this time. That came the moment I stepped on the plane. This was different. This was stability. And for once, it was mine. Did your family ever act like you owe them everything just because you survived without their help? Tell us in the comments. And if this story hit home, like and subscribe. It means the world to us, and just one click for you.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.